Hi, I'm Elle. I'm the Keystone Stitcher. Welcome back. It's been a while. I've been gone for a month. Life has just been crazy busy. I thought about doing a video partway through the month, around and about the 15th as usual, but I'd only worked on one project at that point. And I thought, nah, just gonna wait. So now I do have a lot to show you, including a surprise finish, something I didn't think I would finish until next year. But before we get into the cross stitch, I have a giveaway that, I should have done on the 15th. And that is the Halloween Just Cross Stitch magazine. This goes to Stitchin' with Lou, and I've contacted her and I have her address, so I'll get this out in the mail right away. Now, I do have another giveaway coming up that you might be interested in, so I hope you'll keep an eye out for that. So before we get into the actual cross stitch, I did take a day when I did some fabric dyeing with my granddaughter when she was here. And one of the pieces that we dyed was a new piece of fabric for Masquerade. Now I didn't restart Masquerade yet, but here is what I came up with. And I'm going to show you the original. So this is the original color that I had. This one here I used red dye in the color denim. And this one, I used denim, but I added a little bit of indigo to it. And I kind of thought that this, because I'm going to save this and reuse it, that I didn't want the same exact color, excuse me, when I am, I have these on my wall. I don't want the exact same color in a lot of different pieces. So I made this a little bit darker so that it will be just right and be unique for Masquerade. So that was fabric dye, and I'm not going to get into the other pieces we did, but we did a few others. So let's stitching. What I decided to do, okay, so as many of you know, it's summer. I'm not indoors as often to stitch. I do like to stitch outside, but I live in an apartment complex, so the outdoor space is communal. So I don't want to, spread out all my floss and my tablet, and I don't want to do that. So instead of doing that, when I want to take something outside, what I do is I take something that uses just one floss, or at least I have a section I can use one floss and I have it outlined or something like that. I also, having my grandchildren here, wanted something that I could pick up easily and put down easily when they woke up and that kind of thing. So the first one I picked up was Eyes of the Forest. This is, artwork is by Inna Badainko, I think is how you pronounce her name. And you can get this chart off mybobbin.com as a PDF that works in Pattern Keeper. You do have to input the numbers for the symbols, but other than that it works. And what I did is, let me see if I can back this up, I completed all of the black. So I had the black done on that side, I came over and did the black around the eye, and all of the black here. So this is my piece that I'm color completing. And the next color will be 3781. Let's see if I turn down the brightness enough that you can see this. So you can see 3781 is this green, and so I'll be outlining and filling in a lot of the owl's face. So there's about 2,800 stitches in there, and so my goal is to finish that color next. Let me put this away before I drop it. So that was my owl, and I love this. I love looking at her eyes. Look at those eyes. So yeah, everything, all that black is done. So that was number one. And then I had my surprise finish. And this is Resistance is Futile by Long Dog Samplers. And I kinda can get it. I'll bring it in close and show you. So when you last saw it, I was working on this band, I think. And I think I had come down and outlined this one, but I hadn't started these flowers. And then I came down and finished all of it, because this was another piece that I had one floss. Now I did have to have my tablet with me for this, because this is much more intricate. So first off, the fabric is a 20 count even weave. No, it isn't. It's a 20 count Aida. It's called Aquarius by Color and Cotton. I wish their stuff was easier to get because I love their fabric. The floss is a special edition by HandDyedByRolanda. And yeah, so let me bring in each of the bands so you can see them. I did not, as they say, fussy cut or in any way try to manipulate where the colors went. I just kind of let it flow. I did, look at where I was and look at how I was threading the needle. So if, for example, I had been working on a lot of dark and then there was a big section of dark, I would start on the light side. But other than that, I didn't manipulate that. So that is my finish. Now here's the floss. I still have, I had originally thought I was, oh, this is 1/1. I originally thought I was going to do this with 2 strands until, let me bring this back, until I saw how intricate, and for example, there's back stitch in here. Can you see those back stitch line right there? And I was really concerned that if I did 2 strands, that I would lose that. It would kind of be too full and you wouldn't see the negative space as well. So, sorry about that. So what I did is I went ahead and just did 1 strand. Oh, before we get into the floss, I should tell you, this does work in Pattern Keeper, kind of. I've heard a lot of people say that they have the vertical lines, that they miss a row whenever they merge it into Pattern Keeper. For me, it was the horizontal lines. So when a page would come down, it would be the first line on the next page, Pattern Keeper just eliminated. There are also, I lost count, somewhere between 6 and 8 mistakes in the chart. And let me show you. So right here, this one here, these flowers were not supposed to touch this, but I started on this side, connected it, and then when I went to come down, I'll put a picture in here, and you can see the chart. One touches, the rest don't. I didn't want to rip that out, so I left it, and I just connected all of them so that it didn't look odd. Another mistake, it's on the same band, is right here. So you can see there's 1 and a space and 1 and a space. So at the very top of each of these, I can't get my arm around the board. At the very top of each of these flowers, there's supposed to be 1 stitch, a space, 1 stitch, a space. And you'll see here I have 1 stitch and then I have 3 connected and then 1. And that's because here's the mistake in here. You can see 3 of them had that every other stitch and 1 had a stitch in the middle. And of course that's the one I stitched first. Here is an extra stitch right there in the corner that is in no other corners anywhere. And once I caught that and realized that that didn't look right, I decided if anybody saw that, I really didn't care. So there were some I caught and I fixed. There were some I didn't catch and I fudged it. But there are mistakes in this chart you should be aware of. So if you're going to stitch this, it's a lovely stitch and it's gorgeous. Just be aware to really watch what you're doing as far as, look at the whole thing and make sure that everything's symmetrical before you get started. So now, what am I going to do with this extra floss? Now, it will probably, I have a feeling a good majority of this will at one point go to you. But I've had a chart. It's called Ukrainian Girl with Tattoo. And this is the design. And I knew I loved it. Now, it says I'm Ukrainian underneath her neck there. I'm not going to stitch that. That does not pertain to me. But I knew I wanted to do this on white, but I wanted to give it a pop of color, and I wanted her tattoos to be colorful. And I decided I really like this floss. So I'm going to use this special edition floss that I used on my long dog, because number one, they will not be hung in the same room. I'm going to do her on white instead of blue, so it won't be as obvious that it's the same color. And you can get that design from NonStopStitch on Etsy. And then, oh, you know what? I didn't tell you. I've moved some new artwork back here. This is Man in Black. This is from a Stephen King book. The quote is the very first sentence of the first book in the series. And you can get that from Snarky Art Company. So it's Snarky Art, and then the company is spelled out on Etsy. And then this over here is a Barbara and Cheryl. You can get that as a paper pattern off of, I think, Everything Cross Stitch still carries it. This is called Pastel Reflections Blue House. Okay, yeah. I still have a piece of fabric left. And what am I going to do with that? So whenever I finish a project, I always trim down as much as I can. I leave enough for framing because I like to repurpose and I don't like to waste. I have another design that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I toyed around. I asked my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter is very artistic, and I showed the design to her and I asked her, what do you think? What color fabric should I put it on? We were both leaning towards white because we both were a little concerned that the details might be lost on a colored fabric. But because this is not a modeled fabric, I think this would work wonderfully. So this is Soul City. There's another name for it. It's by MiAxStitch. I think I'll put it on the screen here. And so I'm going to do that. I love how you use the city, the silhouette of the city, to get the look of the owl. I love that. She has other pieces. If you follow Kelly Animal Instinct, she just finished a cat silhouette, which is very similar in design to this. So that's that. So the next thing I did is I decided, okay, I finished a piece, I get to have a new start. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start a paper chart. And this is The Fisherman by, I believe it's pronounced Nimue. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I love him, but I didn't love the brown on tan fabric. And I know it gives it a certain look, and I like the look, but not for my house. So I started it, and you can see this is his feet down here, and his coat, his sleeve. This is just one color. And as I was stitching it, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. And I looked again at the fabric, at the size, and realized this is 66 by 93. And I thought, what am I going to do with this? This is so tiny. It couldn't be an ornament. It's not that tiny, and it's not seasonal. And it's too small to fit, and most of my artwork on my walls are large. So I thought, well, maybe my problem is that I'm itching for full coverage. So I put this down and I picked up a full coverage, and I kept looking at this and thinking about this, and I finally decided that, you know what, I think he's adorable. I don't know what to do with him. So I'm not going to stitch him. I'm going to give him to you. So this is a brand new chart. I took it out just to take a photocopy of the chart so I could stitch it, but I've deleted that. But I did not use the chart. The directions are both in English and in French, I think this is French. But you do have the English directions on here. It uses the only time it uses blends is for some of the back stitch, which I found interesting. So if you would like this, use the word fish in your comments somehow, and I will be back on the 15th of August, and I will draw a name for that. Okay, so like I said, I went to full coverage because I was really missing my full coverage. And at this point, the grandchildren had gone home. Well, they went home before I finished Resistance is Futile. I didn't get that much stitching. So the next one I picked up was Only the Lonely. This is charted by UnconventionalXStitch. The artwork is by Adrian Borda. And that's where I got to. So I had this page done, and I came over here and I started the next page. So I'll bring that in so you can see, and pull back so you can get the effect of the colors, and I'll put in over my face where it was. So I had this in a hoop when I remember to take a picture, but you get the idea. So just, this was done, this wasn't. So I had a lot of fun with that. It felt so good to get back to my full coverage. It really, really did. And so at that point I decided that I had been working so monogamously. So I worked monogamously on Eyes of the Forest, the owl, and got all the black done. And then I worked nonstop on Resistance is Futile. I didn't put that down, and I started realizing that, you know, on Pattern Keeper it tells you how many stitches you have left, and I'm going, that'll only take me a couple days, I'll finish it. So I worked on that till it was done. So by the time I got to Only the Lonely, I was itching for another piece. And that next piece is Death in the Garden. This is another piece, oh wait a minute, before we do Death in the Garden, I'm stitching this 2/1 on 18 count Aida. How to look and see those. So this is 18 count Aida. This is not Zweigart. This is a piece called Kato that I got from Amazon. Okay, now Death in the Garden. So Death in the Garden, I'm stitching this on an 18 count. This is an Aida by Zweigart. This is called Very Light Pewter. It's just one of their standard colors. So the first thing I did is I came up and I finished this page here. And then I came down here and I got this, a start on this page. So up here, I'm going to, okay, over my face so I can talk about this. You can see here, this is going to go down. Now the flower growing out of her eye will probably mostly be here. But this is some of the colors that are coming off that flower, coming here. This is her hair and the aura, if you will, around the top of her head. So that's what I've gotten to there. And there will be 2 more pages down at the bottom, but that's all the taller that will be. So let me pull this back, and over my face I'll put a picture where it was. So yeah, I was so happy with that progress. But that was everything I stitched for the month. That was it. So what am I going to do now? Okay, I tossed Eyes of the Forest, so it's over there. I'm going to work on Eyes of the Forest and put in that 3781. See how far I can get to completing that color. I'm also going to go back and I'm going to pull out, for now, just one, but I'm going to pull out one of my focus pieces. This is 4 Seasons by Dome, and it was sold by SodaStitch. If you like it, you might be able to reach out to the SodaStitch shop on Etsy, which is where I found it, and see if they can still get it. And I'm at just over 60%. I haven't been telling you percentages of anything. I'm so out of practice. I'm so sorry. Let's go back and do that. Okay, so Eyes of the Forest, I'm at 16.43%. And the reason I want to keep going on that is because I'm doing that as a sow with Carey, who is the patient stitcher. Now, she's not as far as I am right now because she's moved, she started a new job, and she's just exhausted. She doesn't have a lot of time. Resistance is Futile, I finished. And then Only the Lonely, I'm at 8.97%. Death in the Garden, I'm at 13.47%. And this one, I'm just over 60%. So you saw up here what this will look like. This is so big I can't put both on the screen at the same time. But that is what it will look like, and you can, let me show you again. So I have finished everything over here. And I last came down and finished this, and I moved over and I'm working my way back up here. So yeah, just over 60%. And this is going to be my focus piece. So during the weekdays, I will work on this, and then weekends, I'll work on whatever calls me. So I don't know what I will work on, but I'll work on something, right? All right, so I think that's all I have for you. If you're interested in the Fisherman, use the word fish in your comment. When it comes to, I guess, life updates. So I have a couple. I won't get into a lot of it. So as I said, I had my grandchildren, so the oldest two will be 16 next month. And doing things with them is interesting because I have to think like a teenager instead of a younger child. So we did a lot of wandering around, checked out museums, you know, went to the aviary, just wandered around and checked out everything that Pittsburgh, the city, has to offer. The week my grandson was here was also the 4th of July, which meant there wasn't a lot I was going to want to be going to Pittsburgh for at that time. I live on the outskirts of Pittsburgh. We did go to one place that I thought I would point out that was, I understand they have them in several cities around the U.S. I don't know where else. It's called the Museum of Illusion. And if you have boys or you have younger children that like to touch everything, this is the place for you. There are a lot of brain teaser puzzles. There's a lot of, everything in there is an optical illusion. So there's a lot of things using mirrors to get the effect. And here's one example. This was a long tubular thing with mirrors inside. And my grandson stood at one end and I stood at the other. And this is his face going down the mirrors. And yeah, they tell you to bring your camera. They tell you to take pictures of it because it's the pictures that show the illusion. Now, to tell you a little bit about my grandchildren, they, like I say, they'll be 16 here shortly. She is 5'8" and he's 6'5". This here illusion, I'm going to put it on the screen. He's got his picture all over. He's got his own website, whatever. So I don't think he'll mind that I share this. This literally is a board on the floor, and then there are posts. So the one post for the back and the two for the front legs of the chair are nowhere near it. They're sitting out on the floor away from it. And then they have a spot, you'll see where she's standing, there's a spot on the floor that tells you where to stand. And then you back up and there's another spot to take the picture, to get the illusion. So it makes him look so tiny, when in reality, it's just that illusion of where everything is placed. So if you have an opportunity, if you have one near you, I think it's a little on the pricey side, but there's a lot that went into building this place. There's a lot of lights, a lot of, there's just a lot. I mean, tons of mirrors, tons of, you know. So, but I thought it was a little pricey because it's not a huge place. But if you have kids that love to run around and touch things and see, this is perfect for you. They do have, it's called Museum of Illusion, and they have a YouTube channel. So you can watch some of their videos and see how these things work. The other kind of elephant in the room is my hair. So I cut my own hair. I've done it for years. I started cutting my hair when I was 9. And I had trimmed my hair, but I'm not quite as flexible, and I've injured my shoulder, my right shoulder. So I asked my youngest granddaughter, she's 13, if she would want to just check the bottom, see if I had the back of my hair straight. And she was a little nervous, and she said, I don't know, I might mess it up. And I said, you can't mess it up. You know, just see if I missed anything. And my grandson, he's 9. He'll be 10 next week. He says, I'll do it. And we both looked at him. And he said, well, it's not hard. It's just scissors. I thought, okay, I offered her, I don't want to tell him no and tell him it's because you're younger or because I don't trust you. So I said, okay. I said, here's what I want you to do. Just comb it all down, make sure, I put a towel and we pulled all my hair out, made sure the hair was on the towel. I said, if there's any little straggly hairs at the bottom that I missed, just cut that off. So he combed it out, and I felt him take his hand, and I felt him hold the hair at the bottom. So I thought, okay, because I wasn't in front of a mirror. And all of a sudden I feel the scissors, and he clips it right here. And he goes, here you go, and he hands me a piece about this big. And I'm going, dude, I don't, instead of yelling at the kids, for him, his name is Dude. He's all boy. He's always trying to manipulate something, and things get broken, and, you know. So instead of yelling, it's just, I look at him and go, dude. And yeah, that was kind of, and at that point, he starts laughing. And I went, well, now you better finish it. Just make sure it's straight. It wasn't straight when he was done. And because I'd only asked him to do the back, this side somehow would end up behind my shoulder, and this side didn't. So when he's done, I'm going, okay, here and here, what is this? So I had to cut that off. At that point, my granddaughter decided she was going to fix and even out the back. His parents think I've lost my mind. I looked at him when I said, what did you do? And he looked at me totally straight-faced, and he said, you're the one that trusted me with scissors. And then he burst out laughing. And then he looks at me and goes, but you've had your hair short before. I think you'll like it. So, moral of the story. If you're very sensitive about how your hair looks, don't hand a 9-year-old a pair of scissors, especially one with a sense of humor. And with that, I think I've probably told you enough about what's been going on in my life. I'm just enjoying the weather. We've had extreme heat for this area. I love summer, but if it's not extreme heat, it's extreme humidity. And so we've been hovering around high 80s this week, low 90s, but with extreme humidity. So it's like, it's one of those days where you get out of the shower and you can't dry off because you just can't get the water off. So that part of it, the humidity, I can't wait for that to die down. But other than that, I'm enjoying the warmth. I hope you are too. And I will see you on the 15th. Bye.